Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Happy Hoya Days. Today we are once again featuring a Hoya with a little bit of a naming controversy. If this is your first episode of Happy Hoya Days, you can head back and look at some of the previous ones from this year, as well as the ones that I posted last year. If you are enjoying these Happy Hoya Days so far, take a moment, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss another episode. But without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at today's Hoya, which I'm not exactly sure what I should call it. So this Hoya was sold to me as a Hoya Villosa, so I will refer to it throughout the video as such, but I've also seen it listed as a Hoya globulosa. Either way, it's got these beautiful leaves. They're really big and long and thick. And again, they have some kind of rippling along the edges, as is common with some of the stiffer Hoya leaves. And it's got this beautiful kind of veination throughout it. Hopefully you can see. As well as they are slightly, I wouldn't say fuzzy so much as maybe a little bit velvety. They've just got a little bit of that hairy texture to them as well. So to talk a little bit about the naming controversy, if you will, it seems like on the internet there's a little bit of a debate whether or not Villosa and globulosa are the same plant. The consensus that I kind of came to is anybody who's really a big name in Hoyas tends to think that they are in fact the same Hoya and that you don't need both of them in your collection. I did see a few people saying there are maybe some minor differences between the two, but there's no real consensus right now. So like I said, I will continue to refer to this as Hoya Villosa because that is what it was sold to me as. So the describing information that I was able to find tended towards the Hoya globulosa, so I'm going to kind of lump those two together for these purposes. It was actually first discovered in the Himalayas and described in 1882, so again, one that has been around in collections for a while. The flowers on this tend towards that white with the pink center that we often see in Hoyas, and I couldn't really find any description of a strong scent, so I'm not sure if there is one. As far as care goes on this plant, I have seen and heard from a lot of people that this is a hard to care for Hoya. In fact, the collector that sold me the cuttings said the same thing, that they were having trouble getting it to grow very fast. They weren't sure if it was one that they even wanted to keep because it was growing so slowly. Me being a little bit of a risk taker and knowing that I could get another cutting from this collector, decided to go ahead and pot it up in leca. And boy, was that the right decision. It has just thrived in its leca environment. It does prefer slightly colder conditions. So again, this is one that I will keep nearer to a window or an outside wall just to get that little bit of a cold snap in the evenings. But it has grown like gangbusters. I even took a cutting. I've only had this for about a year. And I took a cutting, there was a really long tendril coming out this way with a couple of leaves on it. Took a cutting for a trade, and it's already starting to push out some new growth there. And it's growing from the second growth point here as well. So it's really enjoying. I would recommend if you're trying to keep this one, keep it in leca. It has done really well for me in that format. As far as getting a hold of this particular Hoya, unfortunately, because for most people it is a little bit of a slower grower, you might have some difficulty getting a hold of one, or you may expect to pay a little bit more if you're trying to buy a cutting or something like that. Like I said, I've gotten mine from personal collectors, not necessarily on websites or things like that, so that might be where you have the best luck. Overall, this is not necessarily a Hoya I would recommend for beginners, but if you're willing to kind of give it a little bit of love, maybe try it out in the semi-hydroponics, it has been a quick and easy grower in my care. And I think that does it for today's Happy Hoya Days. If you enjoyed, make sure you leave me a thumbs up letting me know that you like this kind of content. And I will see you guys in a couple of days with another Hoya. Bye.